wasn't good. You know, the bottom, if you're going to put something in, rather than distract people, has to be readable, has to be legible.
Yeah, I mean, here's the
Yeah.
the ones near the slides.
Okay, so let's go to the second one. Okay, I think it's good that, again, just to space down, volunteer cycle. I don't know what that means, but
I didn't like that, and I'm going to change it again. It's not. I don't like cycle. It's
No.
a process. It's continuous.
I don't know what it means. Are they, when they say volunteer process, let's go to the third one. Let's see what the third one says. Learning. So that's all? This is what it's about, recruitment?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very general. I'm going to move that slide up because this one should be.
Yes, I was going to say to you. So there's only one, the learning to understand how to implement a successful recruitment plan. Right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Tell you what, though. If nothing else, let's be consistent.
Agenda. I don't know what agenda. Oh, I see. Okay. Volunteer cycle. I don't know what that means. What is the agenda here? I don't know what that means, but planning for new position. I'm not sure what volunteer cycle means, but they probably know.
Yeah.
So it means that they're looking at getting volunteers at this cycle of time, right?
Some nonsense. What the Christ is doing?
I know.
Volunteer process. I'm going to have to fix this slide.
Yeah, just make it smaller. 54 is too much.
But watch what happens. Change it.
I know.
28 what I want to do.
Okay, that's how I do it. Exactly what you're doing is exactly how I do it.
And it just switched to 30. It automatically changed it to fit the size of the box, the text box you have.
Well, it takes it from the front of the top one. See, that's good. That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
This is planning for new positions, recruitment, selecting successful applicants, orientation and training, supervision, assessment and evaluations.
So obviously the guy who's going to present this is going to go through each of these.
Yeah.
Probably very quickly too. And then they're going to break down each section.
Yep.
Good planning that you will be ready to involve me. I would ask a question here, but so what does a good volunteer look like? No, but it's a good question.
Oh, it all depends on the role that that they're seeking or the organization is seeking. But a good volunteer, and I'll speak, from my mind on this one, is somebody whose values are aligned with that of the organization.
Do you need to say that, Gord, or is that implied?
It should be implied, but I don't think it is that solidly implied.
Well, well, the question is when I don't know who this is for. It's for people who are going to get volunteers, right?
Yeah, these are the hirers.
Okay.
That's the intended audience.
So the volunteer coordinators or the staff, the real,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're the people who are doing essentially the
yeah,
hiring, if you do such a thing as hire a volunteer, but
yeah.
that's for the sake of argument, say that you do.
So really, this is for people who are doing the recruiting and all that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the recruiters, the hirers.
Okay, let's see what they have to say.
Okay. Um, okay. Go here, do some things. Okay.
Isn't that repeated somewhere? That's the same thing as the third one. Right? That's the same as the agenda. Look at this. Same thing.
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, the volunteer cycle makes sense. So those two are the same, repetitive, unnecessary.
All right, take out the first
Mm.
and the second one.
Let's see what else he's got.
I'm gonna take out that fifth one.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Okay, and I'm gonna move up
Mm-hmm.
that one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know what the title on this one is, but
That's okay.
recruiting.
That's good.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just, the title and just space it down a bit. You need a bit of between the title and the writing is what, yeah, that's much better spacing. Yeah, okay, good. This looks good. Very consistent language.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, the lady who put most of this together is a good presenter and an excellent facilitator, I would believe. She's quite skilled. Yeah. Okay with that one? Okay, can I move to the next one, Mary?
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I think this is a good one.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yep. Tell me.
I think it's very good. I just put the space between the title and the rest so that it breaks up what people's eyes could see, you know?
Yep.
So you can always take the box and make the box of the print down a touch. That's it. Yeah, that's good. I think this one's pretty clear.
Yep.
And I would suspect it's pretty easy to speak to because it's easy, you know? There's
Yeah,
no, there's no uh,
Yeah, it's
I think it,
well thought
yeah.
through.
Oh, yeah.
The slides have been well thought through.
No, it's good.
They're
And,
well
yeah,
organized.
yeah.
They flow nicely. So,
And not too much language. That's the thing, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now, are these questions, oh, I see. These are questions they should ask themselves, eh?
Yeah. If
So
you look at
really,
the,
who would be the ideal volunteer for this position, right? What are the
yeah,
volunteer, yeah, why would they be
yeah,
interested? Yeah,
yeah. If you look at the bottom, the notes, I don't know how clearly you can see
yeah,
those.
yeah, I think those
But
are good questions.
they're talking, here's an activity. There's a breakout here, is what we're looking at.
So what you do is, the person who's delivering this, um, take a few minutes themselves to answer these questions, right? So you add a new slide and you put reflection and discussion.
Is this after 10 or before 10?
Uh, the one up there is 10, right?
Yeah.
So 11, if you want them, then you take another slide and ask them, reflect and discuss the questions. Take 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the group or whatever. Reflect and discuss in a small group. And that you can put that in your time. So use one timekeeper and one note taker.
Okay.
So put roles, timekeeper, note taker. Perfect. Roles, timekeeper.
Yeah.
So it depends on how much time I mean, I would give people a good 10 minutes to talk, wouldn't you? Depends on how big your group is.
Timekeeper, you describe.
Right. Okay, and the third one is reporter. They report back to the big group. And I would put a dash summarize. So they wouldn't read everything, but they would say we talked about this or, whatever.
Summarizer, reporter,
No,
summarizer.
I would just, or summary, whatever, summary. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it depends on how much time, like only the person doing this knows. So this is a group thing, right?
Yeah.
So you give people a chance to look at who are the gaps, blah, 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 blah. So you take those questions and you go into a small group and the group is, the other thing you can do is put the directions before the questions, leave the questions up, let people take a minute to reflect on them, and then they go into a breakout group. Right?
Okay, so you take the slide,
I think, yeah,
reflect
you
and
could
discuss,
select it first, like
and
we're
put
gonna
that
have a
ahead.
reflection and discussion. We need a timekeeper, and here are the questions. So people take a minute by themselves.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what we do is before we get to the question, we say, okay, reflect and discuss in small groups.
Yeah, identify a timekeeper, a scribe, a reporter. And now here are the questions. So they take a few minutes by themselves. I always give people a few minutes by themselves. And then they go into the group and discuss it. And you've got somebody, I guess the time, so I guess what you want to, let's go back to the roles. You want somebody that's going to have would facilitate the questions. So why don't we add leader or facilitator? I'd put facilitator.
Facilitator is-
Does that make sense? They ask the questions.
yeah.
So they have a question, they have the question, and they just break it out. Now, even if it was done in person, you already decide what you're going to do. They can, if it was in person, they just break into a group, right? And that would be kept up. If there isn't, then they take a minute to jot some notes down before they go into the group, right?
Yeah. So I've going back to the questions, because we just got that slide titled recruitment, be creative. It's recruitment
I
questions.
think you're looking at recruitment questions to consider, or important questions, or critical questions.
Recruitment questions to consider.
Yeah, I don't think creative is the word.
We're hoping they'll be creative while they're doing it, but
Yeah, I know, it's a redundant, it's, yeah. I wouldn't put even to consider. Questions are always to be asked, so. So they can do it by themselves. You can do a pair share, right? If you have a large group, pair share them.
yeah.
Right, in groups of two, it doesn't matter.
Again, looking at the notes, this lady is saying, her name Marika, is saying, yeah, break out in a
Right.
small groups type of thing.
Mhm. And she's also asking them to create an elevator speech. So, I mean, she's
Based on
directions.
answers, based on
Give
the
directions to the people.
answers to those questions.
Right. So, she'll give direction, and the questions are important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would take out consider, because it's unnecessary words. Questions, the question, it's redundant.
Questions.
Okay, next. That's pretty good.
Okay. Yeah. Do we want to put a add slide here about the presentation to the whole group, or the facilitator will do that? Okay, I'm just thinking about.
Wait, yeah, you already have 4 roles, right? Whatever, it could be pair, share, large group, small, whatever. You already have
Yeah, I
the,
mean, the reporter,
it's pretty clear, yeah.
the reporter provides the feedback to the whole group, to the
The
rest of the
reporter
group.
takes notes while people are talking. They may not be the same one that wants to talk. And that's where you allow people, some people would not present. They don't want to record because they don't want to talk. So you break it up. That way everybody has a job.
No, the scribe is the reporter. The reporter is the one is reporting back.
Yeah. The scribe is the guy that writes,
That,
but he may not be the guy that speaks, or he could be the same guy. We don't care. Depends on
well, I
who's,
don't care. That's what I'm saying. The reporter, I'm using it as a verb, will report back.
yeah.
So, okay,
Now,
we're good.
look,
We're
you
good.
could have 4 people in a group.
Yeah,
And
we're
the
good.
timekeeper says, I'll speak. Who cares? As long
Yeah.
as they take the role on. Those are the roles. They're not the person,
Exactly. Those are, those are activities.
right?
And the activities can be done by one person or 15.
Exactly. Exactly. The
Okay.
control freak will want to do everything. Okay.
We're good. We're good. So at the end of this, the facilitator for the presentation will ask the breakout groups to present their
Right.
findings.
Right.
So I don't think we need a slide for that. I mean, I put myself, when I was doing the training, I wouldn't have a slide. I say, okay, what did you guys find? Say, okay, time's up, guys. Group number one,
Yeah,
here's your reporter. Tell us, what happened.
right,
Report
right.
back. Okay, so we got that. Next slide, and this is after group activity, is where to find volunteers. Um, again, to keep people involved and interested and active, my thought here, do you want to present, where to find the volunteer each point here, or do we want to ask them as a group to basically provide answers? And
Well, I
then,
think they could brainstorm if they wanted.
yeah, it's a question. Okay, where to find volunteers? Okay, guys.
I would
Shut,
put, if you're
shut,
going to have this here, which one are you more familiar with, and which one are you not comfortable with, and then break it up in the group. Some people would break it up into, I'm going to put it on Facebook, and Gord's going to call the newspaper, and I'm going to make a note at the school board, at the school. So I would have them break up. Which one are you more comfortable with? Which one can you make a commitment to?
I think part of the objective here, in my mind, is that if you start, this is a sharing of information between the attendees.
Right,
Because some of them may have some great ideas that
Right.
they have just used to find
right.
would unearth volunteers that not a lot of other people know about.
But when you're making this up, this training, the person who's presenting should at this point have conversation with people. Questions to consider are which ones are you familiar with? Which one isn't? Who would like to do that? Who's done this before? Those kind of questions the facilitator would hopefully do. And if they're presenting this to a live audience, the people would unmute and say what they want to say.
Yeah, I mean, that's my mind here. Again, I bring it back to my own, when I was doing this live in front of, in a classroom situation,
Right,
I'd be saying, okay, where do we find volunteers? Guys, where have you found volunteers?
right,
Let's share the information.
right.
So this is basically where we unmute.
Yeah, get rid of the 12 there. Oh, you've got the 12. I see. She put
Yeah.
12.
I'm gonna put in here. Unmute. And ask. Unmute and ask for responses.
Yeah, ask for suggestions, what they're comfortable with, what they've done, find out who's experienced what.
Past successes. And what has worked.
Mm.
Past. Okay. So I think that the key for this slide is this is where unmute and ask for responses, suggestions, paragraph.
Yeah,
And again, this can be a blank slide initially, where to find volunteers.
okay, so you could create a blank one right now.
And then at the end of getting all the responses, then you show this and say, okay, here are some of the things that we found in the past.
Right.
Okay.
I would expect the person who's doing this, if I was doing this, I might stop there and ask, like, what do you find useful? Well, here's some ideas. Which one have you tried? It'd be up to me to discuss with the people, right?
Yep.
What's been your success? Put the question. What's your experience? What worked?
And that leads in
Right.
to the unmuting and the feedback, the responses from the group.
Mhm.
And then after that,
Kind of a
okay,
summary. Yeah,
here's a summary of what we found in the past.
yeah. Mhm.
Okay. All right. And this is just
Oh, I see, it's a sample.
samples.
Mm.
Yeah, which is good. It breaks it up. So a few of these
Yeah.
kind of adds a
Yeah.
bit more variety to it.
Yeah,
And again, these are some of the
they're just
pictures.
samples. That's good. They're
I mean,
just samples. That's,
here's some of the pictures we could use in that previous
yeah,
one, onboarding with
yeah,
the
yeah.
volunteers, a therapy dog,
Right.
that type of stuff. So these things are available.
Yeah.
They're around. And actually, I
The
think
person who
that's
did this organized it pretty well, I think, don't you think?
yeah. Yeah, the lady who did this is Marika, is pretty darn good. She's pretty sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and this is again creating consistent
What you've
messaging.
got here is a resource that anybody could pick up and do it any way they want, right?
Yeah,
Like you may stop and discuss something, like another person wouldn't, they would maybe ask a different question, but you've got a template, you know? Depends on how experienced the group is.
yeah, well, exactly.
I don't know whether I put marketing efforts, I don't know what that means, but it's marketing activities, actually.
Yeah,
I would change that to activities. Effort and activity are two different things. Yeah, I think that you've done well here.
Marika has done well.
This
She's
is a
good.
good one. Mm.
She's done good.
But you've laid it out and it's got not, it doesn't have too much word, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
The world's, what does it say? The world, okay, 17.
yeah. The world's best recruiters
Mm.
are satisfied volunteers. And yeah, that's a truth.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me into Rotary.
Because you were recruited, right?
No, a guy, actually a consultant I work with. When I stopped working, I kept up the relationship with him. I still have it with a good relationship with him. But he was in Rotary, and he said, "Hey, here's a great thing that you could do. You could volunteer. There's a good organization to volunteer with. You'd be a good fit in there." So he convinced me. Uh,
Yeah, I only actually came because I come from Dominica, where I was involved in creating a new one, if you can believe it. And the people were beautiful. Like they ran it. They had a restaurant there from Belgium.
Yeah.
And because it was faculty, most of the town, the the local people didn't do it. They didn't need to go to a restaurant, and the faculty were unstable. They'd be there a year or two or three, and they weren't committed to any volunteer because they'd volunteered a lot with students on campus. So they came to me and asked me because they knew if I went, I'd bring some women to lunch. Just what happened. They told me I didn't have to do anything, just bring people, and I did.
all right. Next
Okay,
slide,
so
number
that's
18.
good.
Selecting successful applicants. This is just sort of a logical or chronological sort of organization of the steps of recruiting.
Yeah,
And again, it's fairly straightforward motherhood
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, and again, the point at the bottom is remember, volunteer can be the right fit for us and them. It's better for all involved to figure this out from the start. It saves time, energy, and feelings. And I've pushed that pretty hard. But this lady pushes it as well. I've pushed the quality over quantity in terms of hiring volunteers.
Mhm.
Don't hire a lot
You
of
know,
them.
you're not doing this, so you're just sort of overviewing for the people and then they're doing it, right?
Yeah,
So they've put comments. Who makes a committed volunteer make? Hmm.
who makes best volunteers?
Mm. Mhm.
Again, here's my, at the bottom, quality over quantity. What I've been pushing, and Marika pushes as well. Okay. We all right with that one, Mary?
Yeah.
Next one, the interview.
I would say 2 interviewers. I would put the 2 interviews. That's your point. Um, you have 2 interviewers to avoid or to prevent bias. It's not ensure it will be viable. It's a sentence. You don't want that.
Hmm.
So I would start with 2 interviewers dash bias free. It prevents bias. And at least you've highlighted that 2 people should be doing it. That's what you want to do, right?
I have at least 2. I'm going to say 2 because if you have more than 2 interview, you know what? I'm not talking about group interviews here. We're talking about. I'm going to leave in at least 2.
Yeah. Face to face if possible. I mean, it can be virtual or it could be in person. Ensure there's time for question from the applicant. The interview should be time for questions from the applicant. I don't think you need ensure there is. Those are sentences.
Make
Predetermined
time.
questions may be consistent. Um, so what you do is prepare questions. I see. So it's use the same questions. Use the same questions and format for consistency. That's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Use the same. You're using the same questions and format, and all those other things are good. See, it's much more direct. Performance factors, qualifications. I'm not sure, but they know what they're talking about there,
Mm.
right? I think consistency is either spaced or wrong. Okay.
Spelled wrong.
Take time for questions. Use the same questions. Questions must comply. Must, yeah. I would not
Yeah.
ensure.
There's no ensure. There's no
You
ensure
don't
about
need
it.
to use a verb. Questions
Well,
must comply.
it's not an option. It's a must.
Yeah. To avoid being sued. Okay. What do you think about that?
No, that's fine.
Okay. I think it's fine. You don't need a lot of verbs, eh? Now, see, obtain at least 2. Use standard form together. You allow for completion by email. Obtain at least. I would put the number 2. 2 reference checks. Not attain. I'd get rid of the verbs. You don't need the verbs. And use the number 2 because it's very clear. 2. You don't need the verb. So I'd put two reference to minimum.
Okay. That's relatively straightforward.
Okay.
There's not a lot of interpretation in the reference check
No.
process. There isn't the reference check. Okay.
I mean, it's pretty clear. Somebody's
Yeah.
talking to this.
Yeah. Here's where there's overlap between the recruiting, this module recruiting, and the onboarding modules. There is some
I would
overlap.
put the word promotes, and then I'd go ... confidence, understanding, and provide a specific mentor. You know, if you just want to do, if you're looking at language, you use one verb and then bam, bam underneath. It's easier to speak to as well. Then you don't read what's there.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Okay.
So what's the purpose of orientation? It promotes a feeling of confidence and preparedness. I think it also builds community too, by the way. Don't you?
Yep.
I think it promotes confidence and competence. So it promotes confidence and confidence and competence. That's what it does. That's why you have training. And it take away the feeling. You don't care about the feeling. You want to make sure they're confident and competent. And it's unnecessary word. Okay. So improves understanding by what to expect. Okay.
Yep. Fine.
Included probation time. I don't know what that means.
I think what they mean is orientation and training is part of probation.
Mm.
A minor change there includes probation time.
Yeah.
I think that makes more sense of it.
I don't think you need a specific mentor because it is a specific mentor. Take out the word.
Well, part of providing a mentor is making sure it's the right fit.
Yeah. Oh no. To help for, yeah, with both the standard process, but also the unwritten rules and socialization. Yeah. Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, I'm just going to change socialization to like that.
Yeah, I would too. I try to make the words compact.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to just read the PowerPoint, you want them to speak to it.
Yep. Okay. Let's go to slide 23. supervision and evaluation. Okay, supervision and evaluation stages benefit both you and the volunteers. Okay, that's the audience. Good with that. Volunteer can feedback to know that they are fulfilling expectations.
Well, to know if they're fulfilling their role, I guess
Either or.
it's okay. Yeah, regular formal feedback provides you and the volunteer with
Feedback, information.
about how the placement is going.
Start the feedback about you and the volunteer with. Information, I can't think of a better way to put that.
I would
Okay.
take it out.
What? Okay.
Feedback provides you and the volunteer with about it provides you and with not even a with about
Okay.
how the placement is going,
Yes.
or about the placement, or about the experience, or about how the placement. I don't think you need with information.
I'm going to come back to that one because I don't know to put that one yet.
Mm.
I know what they're looking for there, but I can't put it into the right words yet. So I'll come
I
back
know
to it.
it's actually it's a way to build relationship as well
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
improve performance. I mean that's what,
Absolutely. That's how you get to know the individual, build a
right.
relationship. Eventually, you build
I'd
trust.
say it's a relationship building.
Yeah, it's just relationship building, trust building.
Yeah, absolutely. So they need to know they're fulfilling their role and feeling valued. That's what I think it's about.
About role fulfillment.
Does that make sense? And see how they're feeling, like see if they're feeling valued. Because that's what leaves, that's why volunteers leave. If they don't feel they're valued, they don't stay. Okay, so are we finished this one?
Okay, yeah, I'll leave it that. I'm ready for the.
You don't like that, eh? You don't like it? You know I could be much cleaner. You know I could.
The volunteer with.
I wouldn't repeat supervision and evaluation. It benefits both you and the dot, whatever it is. What do you call it? Bullet. Benefits both you and the volunteers and helps builds relationship. Don't you think so? Volunteers need feedback to know that they're fulfilling their role effectively and feeling valued. I think that's the note, that's the content and the emotion. People need both, right?
Particularly volunteer.
Pardon? Yeah.
Particularly a volunteer, because essentially,
Well, they're
they
not
are,
getting paid, so you want to keep them.
yeah, well, they're there because they have an emotional tie to the organization,
Right,
not a legal one, not a financial one, an
right.
emotional one. So they have to feel, and values the key word, there's a value
I
alignment.
think so. Yeah. So we've added it there.
Yeah. Okay. Move on to the next ones. We got a few more slides to go at. Next steps. Organize a recruitment team, plan your strategy, gather resources, um, take additional training, interview techniques, leader recruitment. Etc. And then complete the onboarding module so that you are ready.
To prepare for your new volunteers. So get rid of some of those words.
To prepare
To prepare
yeah,
for. To prepare for your new volunteers. Get rid of all those words. You see, the less is better, really. Right?
again, it's they're going to be voiceover, obviously.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
This will be live interactive, so there'll be that. And
But you know what? If you went to hear this and
that's better.
if you were in person or giving it in person, you would stop and take questions. People would raise their hand. If not, you carry on and stop and get people questioning where it needs to be in that earlier places.
Yeah.
Um,
Because part of this as well is going to be what I'm going to have to do, or this committee going to have to do, is develop basically a facilitator manual.
mhm.
Because this is going to be, this particular learning module is going to be done live.
It is going to be done live?
Yeah, I think so. Again, we want to have, the breakout groups, et cetera,
Yeah,
in discussion. It's
yeah.
going to be done live.
Yeah, this part wouldn't be, but that other part,
Yeah, the
especially you
second
could do a
part.
role play. Listen, you could take the questions and you could use a question for a role play.
Oh yeah, I mean, this thing,
This is just the PowerPoint. This doesn't mean how it's going to roll out.
yeah. I mean, we could probably break this thing about halfway through, or maybe a bit more, because it definitely, it goes from interviewing into orientation and training.
How many slides in this thing?
We're on the last one now, 24.
Oh, well, that's not
And
bad.
I'm thinking you could probably break it out here. I mean, the last 3 slides are, again, about what happens after you've hired somebody.
Well, that's okay. It's okay to
And
have.
again, it's overlap with the
Yeah,
onboarding
yeah.
material, and that's
That's
fine.
okay. That's all right.
Overlap is good because it shows that there's a
And they
flow.
may role play. Like, I think the key is to have people take a look at it and decide for themselves, where do you want to stop? And would you have it role play? Where do you want to discuss?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think that what works and what they've done before, that'll influence the quality of the breakout session.
Yeah. Part of our time planning on this is starting in September, is to do some beta testing at a couple of branches. So basically from now until the end of the summer, until start of September, it's essentially getting this material ready for Zoom presentations, or getting it Zoomized, I guess.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good one,
So yeah, so that there'll be feedback coming from these beta tests. Part of the game plan is the launch date for these all these training modules is Jan 1. That's when they go live to the field. This will launch across the province. That's our target launch date. So basically, we've got about 5.5 months to get these things in that shape, and that includes the zoomizing of things, getting the slides ready.
Well, I would run one of these through. Like I would, for each of these training, I would have the people who are in the training, watch a trainer and give some feedback.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the only way people are going to get confident.
And that's going to be a big part of the beta testing is making sure the content and the delivery works, but also that the facilitators are doing their role properly as well. And
Right,
they're going to get appraised during this thing as well. I mean,
yeah.
we're talking about
I think you need to know what's a good template when you're feedback, okay? So if
Right.
I was watching you, what would I be looking for? And I would have just a check thing like welcoming. Did they welcome the people?
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean,
no, I would have a template. Check.
well,
Welcome.
I've got all kind of templates.
Was the pace right? Did they read the slide or were they, able to speak to this? You know what I mean? Were they able?
I've got all kind of measurement templates, and I call them happy sheets. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what most of them are. How was the room temperature? Where's the air conditioning like? How were the washrooms? That's fine. I want to get to some measurement at the end of this stuff as well, though. I mean, the happy sheets are one measurement. There'll be some measurement.
I would want to know, did the person's pacing, how was the pacing? Did they,
Oh,
how did the facilitation go? What went well? That kind of thing. Just
I mean,
feedback to form the discussion. I would think it's what went well.
yeah, I've used some simple happy sheets, with
Yeah.
3 questions on it.
Yeah,
What worked, what didn't work, and where did we get stuck?
right.
Simple things like that.
Yeah,
But at the end of the day, though, I want to do some measurement on the effectiveness of the learning.
yeah.
Did it change anything in the everyday operation of somebody's job, their role?
Yeah.
And the fourth level of measurement is were the results to the organization? Was there an impact in the organization? That's pretty high level training measurement, but that's the holy grail.
And maybe that's a satisfaction tool. I don't know. Maybe that's first.
I forget the name
But
of
you
it.
know what? You got to break it down. You're doing the right thing. You're just getting the templates organized, right?
Oh yeah, getting templates organized, and organizing this thing for a geographically disparate organization.
So was this helpful though? Was this helpful to kind of just
absolutely
look at it? Because
absolutely.
I think if you look at the third one, you'll probably say, yeah, can I change the wording here? Can I just get rid of some of the words?
Yeah, what I'm telling you, where I'm going to go from here, Mary, is that on the weekend, I'm going to take these recordings that we've made of our discussion and send them out to Marika Beaumont, the lady who did this presentation, her and her subcommittee, and Tony Alberts, who did the orientation one, and say, hey, here's the discussion, guys. Have a listen to that. And what's your feedback on our feedback?
Yeah.
Type of thing. And what do we do next?
Are you stopping the recording now?
I shouldn't I?
Yeah, you should, because